Well, it's been a while since I've made a video on the Cadillac. Since the track night event back in June, I really haven't done much to it, to be honest. Just driving it back and forth to work. I think it's up over 101 or 102,000 miles now. It's continuing to run flawlessly. Did another oil change. That's about it. Today I'm going to do something that is not necessarily maintenance related. It's not a performance modification. It's similar to the K&N intake in that it's going to add some noise when I want it and make it stay quiet when I don't. I bought a really cheap exhaust cutout on eBay. I mean $58 cheap. And I bought one. I'm just going to do it on one side. This does have dual exhaust where it goes back into the muffler. But I want to be able to open and close a valve just to give it a little more exhaust tone when I feel like it. And I figured for less than $60, why not? That's many people will say, oh, that's stupid, or that doesn't make any sense, or it doesn't add anything. Like the K&N, I don't really care what people think about that. Like, it's just for my own enjoyment. So I thought I would at least show what comes with this $58 or $59 kit, install it on the car and see how it goes. So let's get to it. Okay, for under $60, this is what you get with the kit. It's got the main Y pipe. This is something where the exhaust gets cut in two places. This goes in its place. And then there's an electric valve that goes here. And then this piece goes on the other side of the valve. And then there's a little dump pipe so that you can rotate, angle how you need to, and then secure that with a band clamp. There's gaskets for in between those things. And then there's these bolts are for attaching all of this stuff to here. This is a threaded assembly, so you don't actually need nuts on the other side. You just need these bolts and washers. This is the controller and where it gets power. And then it comes with two remote fobs where you can open and close the exhaust valve remotely. I think it might be possible to program these two buttons into my overhead console where the garage door opener is, because I've got 3 buttons up there. I don't know, I'll try that later. And then this is just the extension cord that goes between the power source and the controller out under the car, and eventually ends up hooking up to the other side of the electric motor. So again, for under $60, you're getting a pretty good amount of stuff here. It says that this is stainless. It's obviously not super thick stainless, but it, you know, the welds look pretty good. And I've tested this. I've plugged it into power and opened and closed the valve, and it's you know, it just does its thing, just like it's supposed to. So we'll get going and we'll see how this goes. Okay, here we are into the car. You can see how the exhaust comes back. And on one side, the diff is off to, or the mount for the diff is off to one side. So I've got some room right in here. And so my plan is gonna be to cut here and here, put this in such a way that the valve motor will be pointed up like this. I've got plenty of room to like rotate around with, but it is going to have to be as far down this pipe as possible. So I picked up for mounting this, I picked up a sleeve. So that's a 2-inch inside diameter. So that'll, whatever I cut here, this will go over that and into the pipe. And then I got a band clamp for the other side so that I've got room to rotate and tighten. So that's what we're going to start with next. Okay, the first cut is done. I cut 1 inch off of this end of the tube in order to get it 1 inch further this way in order for the motor to be able to fit up in this cavity that I have. Cutting this one was no problem because there's just nothing behind over here for the blade to go back and forth on. But on this side, I'm up just a couple fingers from the frame, the subframe for the rear. So I'm just got to be careful about how I sawzall through this without banging into the frame. So that's the next little step here. All right, here's the motor mounted into the Y pipe. Lock washers, the gaskets. I'm sure that helps with maybe a little bit of heat dissipation for the motor. I don't know. When I cut the pipes, I got a band clamp for one end, and I got a sleeve clamp for the other end, or not a sleeve clamp, a sleeve that I'm then going to put a couple clamps on, specifically because the pipes are rigid, you know, the muffler is still in place, and this pipe, because it's a H pipe and it's connected and everything, so there's no room to move them up and down to put this into place. So by doing a sleeve here, I was able to push the sleeve down this pipe far enough to get this assembly up into place, and then slide the sleeve forward, and I'll clamp it then, and that'll leave this end lined up where I can just put a band clamp around it, which will fit through this area here. So I'm just going to get a little bit of exhaust paste to put on this, get that slid in, push back here, and then I'm going to clamp it once I rotate it up into position where the motor is going to sit, and then I'll attach the band clamp, and then we'll run the wiring. So that's where we're at. All right, so there it is, all tucked up into place. That sleeve is all nice and tight now. The band clamp is nice and tight. The motor is rotated up into position there, and it's got a good ½ inch of clearance all around it. So as this, you know, if the exhaust really doesn't move much at all, but if it does move a little, it's not going to hit anything. And I've got the power cord for the motor is right here, and I've got this, I think that's a drain at the bottom of the trunk pan. So I'm just going to do a hole through that plastic drain plug big enough to put the other end of this cable through. That way I can connect it up nice and tight right up in here and get some electrical tape around it to keep it waterproof. And then I've just got to put the tailpipe on and rotate it, you know, so it's not pointing in a weird direction. From the back of the car, I mean, obviously you won't really see anything, and if you look up underneath, you can kind of see how tucked up that is next to the differential mount. So that's where we're at. All right, now I'm in the car, and here's the power unit, the controller. This is the cable that runs back to the motor, and this is the extension cable that gets it there. And then this is power, obviously. Now, I don't want to lose my power port up front here, because this is where I put my phone, and it plugs in with a nice short cable. So under the armrest, I've already got my auxiliary port taken up. This is my Bluetooth connector for my phone to play my music and all that through the car. But I found that there's another power port right here. And with this, you know, power plugged into that, I've got room to run the wire under the Bluetooth adapter. And then there's a well down here that's pretty deep that this fits right into. So I'm just gonna rearrange a few things in here and get that all in. And then I'm not going to drill through the bottom of the console. I'm not going crazy with the installation. What I'll end up doing is taking this lead and just coming out of the console, you know, something like this, and run it down the side, and then go under the carpeting and out through the back seat and all that. But I'm not going to bother taking the whole console out. That takes a bit of time. Just to, you know, drill a hole down through it. So I'm going to leave it like this, just out over the edge, and not really stress out about it, because once this is closed, it really will not be noticeable. All right, so let me get that installed, and we'll start running the cable. Okay, here it is with the little tailpipe band clamped on. I didn't dump it straight down because I want as much ground clearance as possible, and right now this is still, you know, it's still tucked up there pretty nice next to the differential mount. So right now, if you look in there, see if I can get it up in there, you might be able to see the little door there. And that opens up to let the extra exhaust out. And there it is, closed up. So I'm just using one of the fobs. So that's how that works. I wish it was a little neater tucked up in there, but I've got just enough clearance all around on the exhaust, the mount, the sway bar up high where the motor is good, and then there's where the cable goes up into the trunk through that drain hole. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right, I got everything finished up. I ran the cable through the interior, through the back seat, and under the carpet in the trunk, and down through that little plug, that little drain plug. I drilled a hole in that. And then I wrapped the connector so that it was waterproof as it can be. I don't drive this car much in, you know, slush and snow or anything, but it definitely gets driven in the rain. Just to set the right expectation, it's not like open exhaust. It adds a nice burble to it, but it does not. It's not obnoxious, you know. Like I'll be 60 this month. I don't need to be riding around in something that sounds like it has open headers. I just wanted a little bit more tone, you know, from the car because it's very quiet, you know, in stock form. So I'm going to go start it up right now in stock form, and then we'll open up the little valve there, and you can see what it sounds like. I don't really have a way to get a microphone on the, you know, on the outside on a drive, but it definitely, you know, is audible from the cabin. It's not obnoxious in any way, but it definitely added a nice little burble to it, and that's really all I was looking for. Total cost of this project was, I forget, it was $58 or $59 for the cheap eBay kit. That was with shipping, and then I spent another $27 on the band clamps, the regular clamps, some muffler paste, and oh, the sleeves, the sleeve as well. So I guess that's it for now. On the inside of the car, I put one of the remotes just down in this cubby because it fits, you know, perfectly in there. And I can reach in and hit the open and hit the close from the driver's seat. The install of the box and the power and all that fit perfectly down in here. So I'm happy with the way that came out. Okay, just a final wrap up on the project. I'm happy. You know, it took maybe 2 hours in total. And that includes setting the car up on the ramps, going to the parts store to get the sleeve and the clamps, and cutting the pipe, installing everything, running the wiring. Easy Saturday morning project, and I am happy with what I did. Again, I know there'll be those of you who say, you know, it's a waste of time to do these exhaust dump sort of things. Whatever, it's just something I wanted to do to add a little bit of sound to kind of enhance the sound that the intake makes. So the future for this car, you know, I'm going to keep this thing long term. You know, it's super rare. It's a comfortable car. It's fun to drive. I'm getting a new license plate. It's my birthday this month, and so instead of that first 6-speed, I'm going to change it to first of 62, because there are 62 of these performance coupes out there, and then there's 12 premiums as well. But that's it. That's the only manual CTS V6 cars they ever made. So I'm just going to change the plate. May do some other things here and there. It really needs a little bit of attention to the front bumper. I still need to put in the right front headlight so that the directional lamps work when turning. And as time goes on and I add things, I'll update some more videos. So thanks for taking the time to watch. Take care.